Couple of clicks and we're on, young lady. She's
Wow, we made
younger
it.
than me, so I can say that. How about that? Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 6th of December. It's hard to believe only a couple more weeks and it'll be Christmas. It's just
Oh, I know
the year's gone so
already.
fast. I know it, right? The holidays will be here and merriment and too much drinking. Not my house, but
Well, not here either. I actually, it's going to be very nice. It's been a couple of years since the families all got together, but my son's bringing his group from Chico to my daughter's on Christmas Eve, and then I'll
oh,
go do my usual Christmas morning. And we usually hold our presents to each other back, and we open those up on Christmas morning.
well, I hope everybody out there hears how fun her house will be. We have a very
It's a
quiet household.
and
We
then well then I come home to my cat, and it's very nice.
I'd be loving up cats. I do have family locally, but we don't always come on Christmas Day. It's usually Christmas Eve. So, but I want to
Yeah,
get this started tonight. We're going to be talking about visiting graveyards, and there's a couple I will
yeah,
talk about tonight. There's a couple announcements. California Haunts Radio is the other show I'm on every Friday night. Shar and I have been talking about different things we want to do, and it was a conversation where, and we could do that here sometime in the future. She wants to have special nights instead of a guest, have me on so that I can do readings. And you'll
nice.
have to wait for the announcement because this will be live but private, meaning you have to register and there'll be a small $10, $15, whatever she decides. Because what happens is we're getting so many people, we have to weed out the ones that not really interested but just trying to get on. So
Yeah,
it's going to be a new process of MO. Will probably be used,
mm,
and that's really quick. If you want a reading and somebody in the room, if there's time, you can do a Venmo real quick. I find that process exciting to think that there's new ways of doing this here.
yeah,
It's not going to benefit me. This is for Shar and her new computer or whatever she needs to get. And with
yeah.
Sue and I, everybody, this is a miracle that we're both on the same time. And
We've had our
and
issues.
what happened before is I wasn't seeing the lower left corner that she was waiting, and on her end, she was also. So it was kind of comedy of errors, but only by beating
Yeah,
your head against the wall will you figure out. Let's do this. The other thing I want to announce really quick. We'll go on to this. I don't want to tie everybody up too long. I'm redoing uh, face websites, and a couple of calls yesterday, day before, if a young man talking to me, he says, "You haven't done anything to your website for a long time." Well, it's because I'm redesigning it at GoDaddy, and I'll be offering Venmo and SquareUp.com instead of PayPal, and all that takes time. Everybody says, "Well, what else are you doing?" If you knew my life, I'm very busy. So
you're very
there's
busy.
lots of things going on, but we wouldn't have it any other way. It's not like I have every day, but we do have life. And so life can get in the way, running between the raindrops of the grocery store. But there is a lot of computer stuff, getting ready to write the books, planning for the shows. Things just take time. Then in there, I plan and schedule all my readings. So if you're wanting a reading from me, my nancymatz.com, it's half, you'll see there's changes on there. Just go with it. And eventually be all moved over to GoDaddy. Anything
Yeah.
with you, Sue, that you're going to announce? And then we'll go on to you're good right
No,
now? Okay.
no, just doing
We're,
my regular stuff.
I love her. She and I talked one time about things that we would like to talk about. But both of us realize we really do like talking about spirits and ghosts. And my other favorite, very favorite topic is reincarnation.
Yes,
And it seems like we're
yes.
having more and more people really interested in reincarnation, the effects of it, bleed throughs, children remember past lives. My clientele, 32 years, everybody. I've had dozens and dozens. In addition to
Hmm.
that, when I'm talking to somebody spontaneously, that happened last time I was talking to Sue. She says, "Tell me of a life." Oh, that's something I want to say. Tell me of a life that her husband, he is no longer in the flesh, but he's still very active in her life.
Yes,
Show
very.
me a life. And when we hung up, I meant to call you back. In fact, I think I did. You were busy. and then we want to get onto cemeteries. He showed me brown clothing, uh, I would say not Roman at all. He was of countryside peoples, and he did have a
Mhm.
large sword, but I think he took it from a Roman. It did not look like he created it. If he did, they were pretty sophisticated. So I think these were people defending their town, and I was shown you, and you might have had blonde hair as a child, but this young woman was his partner or wife,
Mhm.
and he was defending his village. And so you have 2 layers of shirt and the pants were blousier looking, but then he
Yeah.
had a vest over it. And then we hung up, or right at the end of the show, you said that he always identified with the Druids. And what I had told her was
Mhm.
Northern England.
Yeah.
And or Northern England and Scotland,
Or
you know, the borders were
yeah.
reconnected,
Yeah.
redesigned later on. So very possibly what I was trying to think of is northern England from center would be to the right, headed toward Dundee and Edinburgh, not to
Mhm.
Ireland. So I'd be kind
Yeah.
of curious for you to look up the battles of that period and who they might have been. But
Yeah.
it was very exciting when I talk to people, do readings. I'll pick up spontaneously, and I have too many stories. Everybody bore you to tears. Everybody's life, but yours, right?
Mhm.
So, so in some ways, I was kind of like forced to believe in that, but I wasn't brought up that way, and I wasn't brought up to think about spirits or ghosts. And so when I was 95, and I'm going to talk about 2 different cemeteries, John Betancourt, um, oops, I'm my God.
When I have to say, one of the questions I had for you was whether you pick up reincarnation when you're dealing with the ghosts. Do you get like a back history from them,
Not a
and
ghost.
can
Sometimes a spirit will talk to
well
me about.
spirit, yeah, but I was just wondering if you got a back history or if you ever got reincarnation on them.
But with Ron last time, yes, when we were talking, you asked me our
No,
connection.
I'm talking about when you go to a cemetery and you talk to
No, I've never
ghosts and
felt that. Mm-mm.
spirits.
No, only
Mm,
spirits who are conscious and spirits who are conscious, like Ron. You
yeah.
asked me a past life. I zeroed on him and saw you at a distance. It
Hmm.
wasn't your eyes I was seeing. It was through his eyes of his remembering a past life. Now, when I go to
Yeah.
cemeteries, absolutely not. Those people that are
Mm.
stuck there are semi-conscious ghosts because they can interact, but they can't move on. A
Ah.
ghost that's stuck or going insane won't even talk to us. And I'm going ahead of myself. Um, so let's start with that. So the Sacramento City Cemetery, 1995, John Betancourt called me up and asked me if I would be interested in doing cemetery tours. What did I know, right?
Hmm.
And he says, "Why don't you come down?" And it was going into July. Come down. We're going to, and if it works in a week or two, we'll, because they'd been planning this for a while. And I got down there, and there'd been a lot of vandal damage to the headstones, and I was really kind of taken back, looking like someone threw some baseball bats and sticks and what rocks or whatever, and just it was just very grievous. I was really taken back because if it had been my family member and they'd come in and broke all those up, I'd be just heartbroken. So anyway, so in the middle of summer, as hot as you could possibly be, downtown Sacramento, like
Yeah.
110, he
Yeah.
says to me, "Start here at the front gate and 13th and Broadway." Um, and I want to give 2 demonstrations. When we first walk in on the first tour, of course, he had to go back and research everything I said, and then I didn't know until the night of the tour if I was right or not. And luckily, I was able to say I was right. So to my left, a little bit of to my left, which is your right, there was a mound of dirt, a mound of person. Couldn't see the outline, and all I could hear is my 3 babies are buried here, over
Mm.
and over and over. That to me is unconscious ghost because
Yeah.
she said nothing else. It was a woman's voice in my head. And of course I went, "Whoa, wow, what's this, John?" And I walked over there, and of course he's trotting behind me. He was a very tall, lean, and he kind of walked like this real quick, right? When I was so focused, and I want to get over there because I didn't want to lose her trend of thought. And what I do is I put my mind to somebody, and it's my life force that embraces somebody, not to go inside, but just to see the figure. And when I looked at the headstone, there's 2 babies there. And I said, John, I tell people there's no ego involved. You know why? It's because they're going to be there or they're not going to be there. They're going to say something
Mhm.
to me or they're not going to say something to me. And I had that attitude like my eyes are better than my hearing.
Mhm.
I visually can see and describe somebody blah, 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 like that because I can see them.
Right.
Your eyes don't blind you, right? Your hearing can not interpret sometimes, but I did not interpret 3 versus 2. And the
Mm.
night of the very first tour, which was blazes hot July, I'm going,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I'm" you're like this, and my hair was almost to my waist, and it was hot, and of course, I couldn't go because in those years, women wore stockings, and so I wore
Yeah.
something, tried to be comfortable, and John did say to the crowd, "The entrance that you came in is 13th and Broadway," but at one time, the road was not there. The cemetery extended past the road and into the next lot. And then as they redesigned the town, those bodies they could identify that belonged to a family member, they moved in when the road was built. They moved, picked up those bodies, and reburied them. There were 3 babies buried in that plot. One was not identified on the stone, but it was on the permanent records in the back. And he said, I just didn't believe your. I go,
There you
I
go.
have to I shake my head, and Bear goes, "Oh, Nancy, you're so strange. Oh my God, Nancy, how can you do this?" And I go, "I'm not doing anything but just getting what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's acts. It's the same thing as you were born with musical ability. Some in the family plays piano. You go, yeah, I could try that. And all first thing you know, because of the encouragement of that family, you can start practicing. So I didn't have the I did not have the encouragement in my family. My father had the gift, his mother had the gift, her mother had the gift, all the way back to the Fox sisters,
Mhm.
Upper New York State was where they lived. And so my grandmother was born to a woman in her 40s. When she was a child, up to 14 or 15, sat on the weekends. Papa, her daddy, would do the entertainment. They had a little quartet. They were at the time called furriers. What's a
Mhm.
furrier? What is that? So
Yeah.
I know, but and when I heard it, I didn't know what a furrier was. But um, so they used to do. Um, I hear a cat purring.
Yeah, she's on my lap. Always
Yeah.
on my lap.
Anyway,
Yeah.
they used to practice table tipping. So the ladies of the wives of the men in the quartet, hello, Dolly, they would put their fingertips onto the table and lift it. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, wouldn't that have been fun to watch? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And she grew up just amazed. And then she had my father, who was very, very gifted, but drove my mother insane. Crazy, crazy. Because he was always talking to his dead dad
Mhm.
or his mother, but mother
Yeah.
lived in a different house. So they would call without the phone, everybody, they would have conversations. And my mother went, I can't stand this. Unfortunately, he got killed by drunk driver when I was 6.
Mhm.
So the long story is I grew up not knowing what I was, but in high school it came full force.
Mhm.
And that's all I can say about it. So I've been in this business 32 years. So I've been busy almost every day. If it's not um, personal friends, acquaintances, that kind of thing, it's my clientele. You cannot do what I do and keep sharp if you don't apply yourself.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit how old I am, but I've been at it
You mean
32.
how
I'm a
young
heel.
you are?
Yeah, how young I am. When I've clocked in 24 years Pacific Bell, I've been doing this for 32.
Yeah.
Yes, quite a long time. And I love it every day, everybody. The mysteries of what I do and how I do it. And when you think about it, go to a cemetery sometime when you take a tour, just for the fun of it. Walk in and see if you can pick up. And I'm going to talk about that. See if you
Yeah.
can pick an impression up. Okay, keep the hands down, Nancy, if Char would tell me. You're not Italian. Please, Nancy, please. Um, those of you who are watching that are intuitive or practicing intuitives, it's very important to know and okay that touching a living being to me is not much different than touching, putting my mind to somebody as a spirit person because they have emotions and feelings. I do question why you're walking around. Is our planet Earth still so comfortable that you would rather be here than in time traveling on other planets? It's amazing the number of people that like to live on the surface of the planet. Do they go underground? I don't know. Do they live in the sky? But the people that are in spirit still living among us. Uh, Her
Hmm.
husband lives with her still.
Yeah.
He's not rushing you, Sue,
No,
but
no.
he does
He
live
told
with
me,
you. What's that?
yeah, yeah, no
So
rushing it.
it's not
Mm,
rushing it. No, no, you're going to be around a while. Anyway, she and I have had that Irish Bonnie song. Shall we kiss it one more time? We
one
have
more
counted the
time.
ways that God doesn't want us yet. So anyway,
Mm,
so when I put my mind to a spirit person, I can have conversations with them, and they say, "Well, how do you hear it?" It's my own voice most of the time. If it's a male voice versus a high pitched voice or a child,
mm,
I see, feel, taste everything, but my eyes are really good. And so if they have a memory, sometimes I'll see it, the memory, versus telling me, because it seems to be I'm very visual. When you
yeah.
talk to a spirit person, they are very selective what they want to tell you. Oh, I remember garlic bread. Oh my gosh, I love it. And I'd be flooded with garlic bread and smells for hours. So what I know, it's amazing to me the number of spirit people that like spaghetti and garlic and coffee. And then
And
now we
coffee?
have I love
Ugh.
and
You,
coffee.
you, ha- you had me right up to the coffee. I'm
A
having
lot of spirit
coffee with
people visit.
spaghetti is like, ugh.
Okay, so garlic bread and spaghetti seems to be, but you have to appreciate the multiple generations before
Yeah,
us. What's an
yeah.
easy meal? Goulash, spaghetti kind of
Hmm.
meals.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so a lot of that and garlic, I got a cat bunny me. As long as he don't jump up my lap. Um, Garlic bread and any kind of pot stew,
Hmm.
goulash,
Yeah.
spaghetti seems to be a big one. And someone just popped in here and said, I used to take my bread and do this and scoop it up. So we do have another.
Yes.
Is that Ron? Did he do that?
Yeah, that I did that. I
You're not
still
the one I'm
do.
talking about.
I know.
Uh,
I know.
okay, so Laura says I get perfumed cigars and ciggies, like stogies. Yes, I
Mm,
do get. I've on occasional got cigars. I don't like it. I do have cigarettes once in a while, not as much as I thought I would. Perfume a lot, and women, shh, and women in the prior generations up to this time put powder on their body after a shower. In fact, I
yeah.
did up to 20 years ago, and our grandmothers used to. That was really, really important to get a light scented perfume uh,
Yeah.
powder. And I'm surprised the number of women that I can smell. It is quite amazing to me. So anyway, you're in the cemetery, you've walked in, you go, oh, Nancy told me to see if I could pick up anything. Yeah, let's think about that, right? So if you're going to be, oh, rose water, that's a really good suggestion. That's something they used to use a lot. Like,
Mm,
oh my God, there was one in the 70s, 80s. You could buy it through bath water, perfume bath tonic, and I can't
yeah.
remember the name of it, but anyway, yes, a lot of that smells too. People who leave us at 80s and 90s would have used that product. So when I go into a cemetery, for those who want to know how I do this, it's not like I drop my energy like a cotton ball, poof. But when I put my mind out and I bump into a life force, then I move toward that life force and then touch them with my energy so I could get a visual. If I don't get a visual, I sometimes can hear because people in spirit, if they've been over there long enough, they don't necessarily always remember what they wore. If they've been over a long time, they forget the peripherals of what they used to look like: arms, hands, feet. So everybody
Yeah.
out there who has a pair of socks on this time of year, right? Don't look at them for a week and think, can I remember what color socks I have on? I can't because I got multiple colors. I'm a sock wearer.
Yeah.
And you think, well, do I have green, lime green on? What color do you wear? And so a lot of spirit people will forget what they've been wearing. Now, the gory thing, if it's gory, someone told me, oh, that's gory. Spirit people, not ghosts, spirit people, most of the time will show up in what they were buried in, even if they were cremated. And that's because it's the last thing that you saw, but they saw of themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that can get kind of strange. Now, a lot of times they'll show up younger. People in cemeteries, those who are stuck, they don't change their clothes. Whatever they saw themselves last is what they're going to see themselves as. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there was a little girl in the cemetery, and it was a Mosley family. And the little girl died at 13, and she's never aged, she's never changed. She still has a string of beads around her neck, and she still has a little dress on, like a party dress that they buried her in. That's because it's the last thing she saw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is she there? She's not a spirit person, but she's not insane. She's just there. So she may be waiting for somebody. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Well, me too. So everybody, phone has to come out. We have to take a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. No, no, that's fine. Live
That's,
TV, everybody.
well, I had sent a message telling my daughter I was on Zoom, and she clearly didn't read my text. So
Well, daughter, you're going to hear about this later, huh?
yeah.
That's fine. So a lot of times you want to say, well, and I'll talk to spirit people when they show up, and I'll tell them, well, I really need to see more of you. And they'll go, what did I look like? But ghost people aren't. They're either going to show you what they are, who they are, what they're wearing, or not. It's either going to be one way or the other. You can't, I wonder what they're wearing. You can't create your mind. So those who are truly stuck because of grief, a lot of times they won't necessarily show you all the garments they wore. There was another lady at the Sacramento Cemetery.
Sorry. I thought I turned it off. Okay, I'll call later. Trying to turn my phone off. I'm sorry.
Um, Dolly is saying, oh, Jen, I'll back up. Jen, wind song is what my grandmother, oh, wind song. I remember that. Uh, thank you, Jen. Dolly, I wonder about all the cremations floating out there. Remember, the cremation has nothing to do with the spirit. Spirit people tell me they have no association with the dead flesh. Meat jacket. Got it? Spirit people are spirit people without the burden of the living flesh on their body. How many of you have heard or seen YouTube where they talk about near death experiencers and they float out of the body in the hospital room and they look down and they go, who's that ugly? Who's that thing on the table? And then they have that, oh my gosh, it was me. And they have no association. So the cremation is really a nice way to go. You know why? People will grieve at the cemetery knowing that that body's laid out in the ground. Very, very difficult. But if you have a cremation jar buried in the ground, they know that's a point where if you go there, that spirit person will join you. It's a place to not only grieve, but to have solace with the family or a place to talk. And a lot of times, spirit people will show up to the cemetery. Now, if you have a whole body laying there, then that person can grieve. And that happened to me. In the early 90s, I had an opportunity to go see where my father was buried in San Diego. That's where he was killed in the military. And he was over 6 foot tall. So from the headstone, and I clocked out at least 6 feet, 7 feet, whatever it was. And I remember thinking that he's laying in the ground. And it was a very big eye opener for me. Cremation to me is the way to go. How many countries do that? India, Japan is the only way to
Mm,
go. So I'm kind of like embracing the idea that my family won't grieve over the body. They'll rejoice in my spirit. And that's a good way to think, everybody.
yeah.
Laura, I bring flowers around a holiday or things for kids and get directed to who wants them. I leave gifts for each spirit. We use a pair of dowsing rods and a SB7. They love to talk. Ooh, I love that. I don't go
That's
to
nice.
cemetery on the holidays. It seems like that's not where I want to go. Um, but Laura, if you have one that's close to you, there's two here in Oroville. My husband was driving me around town. Oh, Nancy, this is where you're going to live now. It's a long story, everybody. My
Mm,
husband came down a couple of years before I did. Um, couldn't sell the big house on Black Mountain. But anyway, I got down. He was driving around. He passed two cemeteries. Of course I looked and I went, "Why did you do this? They saw me, right? Everybody don't walk in here." But I saw 3 at one cemetery and 2 in the other. And I wonder why. Why are they there? Will I go back? Probably eventually. They're not going anywhere. And it is disturbing. Yes.
Mm.
Um, Laura, I'm in Oregon. I was in Hornbrook, Black Mountain, Hornbrook, California. So look that up. I was on the mountain. I was at 3,000 elevation. Not very high compared to the rest of it, but it was high enough.
Mhm.
But anyway, I love this. I love seeing the little notes here. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, the ghosts that are there, may or may not have clothing on, may or may not have a form or be able to talk to you. What they do is they mumble. Blah, 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 blah. And if they're mumbling something you can understand, great. At the entrance of the Sacramento City Cemetery, John Sutter is buried. I had no sense of him there or his body. So even though he's buried, there's no energy because he was buried in 1865, I think, and he was the one that started the gold rush. So anybody knows history, that's very significant. To my right, next to the fence in the front, John said to me one time, it was like I was there 6 years, 5, 6 a year. Oh my, that's a lot of tours in the middle of summertime, the middle of winter. Um,
Yeah.
I heard this boom, 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 and I go, "What is that?" Have you an imagination, everybody? So envision a two-story, a theater, like with a balcony, and the
Mm.
girls are doing the can-can on the stage, and there's a lot of men in there, and they start pounding their feet. Guess what happened? The balcony crashed in, and
Wow.
there was a lot of death. I think it was at least 6, could have been up to 10. So they were all buried there. So the people that came to visit, they envisioned, or the ones who survived it, kept hearing the boom, boom of their feet. Boom, boom. What a strange thing for me to talk about. Like, why
Wow.
wasn't I picking up the relatives? I was picking up the accident, but it was the pounding of the feet. And I saw quite a high balcony, narrower than most, but with a large floor that was down. So it made me think it was added later to get more
Yeah.
people in there to pay more.
Yeah.
So that was a very odd one. Um, I'm trying to think of the ones that are different. I did talk of this one on Char's show about the man that accidentally shot his son, caused him to die, and the boy was 14. Not long
Mm.
after that, the father did die. In memorial for the son, the father put in a very taller obelisk type of headstone, and it was probably 8, 9 feet tall. When the
Mm.
man died, he showed me his entire body. It was in dark clothing. He had one foot on the grass, another foot on the first step up on the obelisk going up. He had his hand up here and an arm around the curvature of it, and its head to the front. He kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." That man was in the throes of the worst grief I'd seen in a long time because I suspect he shot the accidentally. The boy died at 14. He looked young. How many years? I can't tell you. They don't know. But I suspect he went to the grave site as often as possible and hugged that thing and grieved over it. There is no way I could talk to this man. And people say to me, if they get stuck, can you wake them up? I can't unless I know they can get I can get their attention. I don't want to do all this talking and then have them have nothing. This man was too deep in his grief. Will they wake up? Absolutely. Absolutely. For some reason, they can calculate time. So I
Really?
want you, right. So I want you, and this is a good example. Casey Affleck. I want to say, I'm thinking of the duck. It's not that. A ghost story in which he's a young man of the 60s or 70s. He's got a lady, and he goes to work, gets out of the driveway, and he's killed instantly. And at the hospital, he shows up, getting up out of the gurney after his lady has come, keeps a sheet on him. And then all of a sudden he stands up and he's got 2 holes for the eyes. Then he ends up getting to the house where she is, and she moves out, and he doesn't leave. That's a very interesting story. And what it is at the end of the movie, it's like he looks around and says, hmm, and then he goes away. It's like he
Mm,
wakes up. So I, in my world, they do wake up. Can I wake him up? Absolutely. And I tell them, and for those who are, I know, Jen, that's so sad. It is sad. And when I do an investigation, if I have the option, if I have permission, I try to get their attention by saying hello. And what I want you to do is emanate all kinds of emotions. I am so sorry that you're here. I'm don't know if you have any you do little sentences like hello and see if they work, if that works. If not, I want you to just fill the room and that person with emotions of curiosity, are you okay? Sympathy, I'm so sorry. And then if you can, with compassion, say you've been here long enough. So you have to start a little bit of a conversation and see if they resonate with that. You'll feel the energy bounce back to you. Okay. Sue, is there any questions I'm missing in here?
I'm not seeing any comments
Okay.
on my side.
Okay, dokie. Laura says, I would love to talk to anyone of the Donner Party. There were uh, Braves up there. Now, where they are, they don't know. It's not necessarily at the camp. It seems like when you're driving up, to the right is the encampment. It seems like they were to the left. I don't know. I don't think they knew for sure. I have some in my life who thinks that they were on the Donner Party. So I don't want to say that individual's name. Um, there was no permission given. I'm very, very private. Like my people tell me
Hmm.
things like that. One thing is that if we identify or think we were part of, is there a level of grieving still? That's
Yeah.
difficult. Should they have a past life regression to recover from that? You kind of wonder why that's being allowed to bleed through. That's kind of interesting. So that'd be very interesting if that person needs a past life regression for sure. But I can't tell that needs to get done. Um, let's see, we only have half.
I had a question regarding the East Coast. I
The
have a
what?
friend there, so the East Coast, as
Okay.
there are so many ghosts there on the East Coast, and it's all about the Civil War and what have you.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's they and of course they're always in their uniforms. It was very traumatic. But does it reinforce them to hang around because they do these reenactments all the
Oh, that's a
time?
wonderful statement. If they're truly ghosts or in a ghost loop, and I should probably explain that, they wouldn't see anybody else because they're only seeing their timeline.
Mm,
So if they're seeing their timeline, they may hear the enactment, but I doubt it. There's so if someone's really stuck, time is oblivious to them. If they are conscious enough to look around or be part of a ghost loop, and I should explain that, then they're only seeing their own environment or own loop. So a family said, Nancy, come out here, really. We need you. There's a ghost in our house. Okay. Whoa, Grandma and Grandpa lived here? Oh, curious. Oh, you're smelling a cigar? Here's a stogie here.
yeah.
Siggy, rather. And
Mm,
I calmed down, got him out of the way here so I could, come on, get your emotions, put it somewhere else so I can figure out what's going on here. Well, it was curious that I could only pick it up as in the morning. I said, you only picking this up in the morning? Yeah, yeah. So I had to back up to the first day before I came, or that morning. And I'm better not in the morning, I'm better the day before. So
mm.
when I did, I saw a tall, lanky man. I described it silver hair. And I saw him walking from one of the house to the back door. And he reached up really high, and on the top shelf that he could reach was a cigar. Got a
Uh,
cigar. And when I put my mind to him, he was in a loop as if as a ghost, but it was his heaven. And wonder
oh,
why?
okay.
Because Mama wouldn't let him smoke in the house.
Right.
So first thing he did is got up. I've heard this story, huh? He'd get up in the morning, reach up there on the porch, and then he would walk the length of his orchard and back, and he would have finished that cigar,
I
and
have
he would
I
have
have
smoked
another
outdoors.
I have another question. My curiosity is for the people that are doing the reenactment and actually the ones doing the like Renaissance fairs.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
is Is that because they're tied to a past life in that time frame?
I do kind of curious, and I'm going to go yes. The pull to be part of a militia, uh, whether it's because they were there and that is the group they want to be part of, or any kind of war environment. So my sister says to me, Nancy, you and I were killed at Gettysburg. Really? How can you pin it on to Gettysburg? 43,000 people killed there? Probably. But look how many other battlefields were there.
Mm-hmm.
So she assumed. Um, she has black moles, two of them right here above her ear. And on my, and they're not real black, but they're big and they're dark
Mm-hmm.
brown. So they're kind of like a skin discoloration mole type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I take off the Indian side of the family, even though my skin has gotten lighter, my hair and my eyes are really dark. I had this thumbnail size of my thumb mole smack in the middle of my on my breastbone, right smack in the middle of my chest. And the doc said this has to come off. Now I feel like I might have been part of that world, but Bonnie is my sister's absolutely sure, and I have a bullet-sized wound in the middle of my chest. So how do
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any association, though I'm a woman, to be part of any militia, yet there are women who do go there. Am I a part of that? They're either, there's women who actually got in the fields, but most of the women were behind the scenes or in the hospital environment. I got
Yeah.
a couple more people in here. I only see in black and white of spirit, which is weird. I'm a descendant of Baker Party who travels with the daughters until they split off. I guess that's all you wrote there. Um, I want you to do me a favor when you see spirit people again, say, I'd like to see color. That's all it takes. You have to keep thinking that you can see in color and you will be able to see in color. I don't remember when I started not seeing color. I think I've been seeing color a long time. A few years ago, I did ask to see who greeted us at death, and bang, it started. And then one day I was talking to some people, I think it was mid 90s, and I says, I'd like to see the color of people's eyes. That's amazing because I can see the color of people's eyes when they move up to me for me to identify them. So you just have to ask. Um, Baker Party. Now I'm going to have to write that down. Baker Party. Look that up. If you think you were there, maybe you. Why not? Why not? Who say no to you? Now I have to add. I'm very attached. That just sounds odd. I have American Indian. I have no association with that. Just because my family are Indians, um, my son looks more Indian, Mohawk, and Indian tattoos in college. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he has a beautiful Indian nose. Mine got broke, so this has been fixed. It was really big, stretched straight. Um, accident broke my nose. Great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have that yearning. So this is the odd one. I have a yearning and identification to Japan. I cannot explain it. I feel like there's part of my spirit there. I doesn't mean I have to go there. It means that there's some sort of association. Of all places, why
Yeah.
Japan? Why not somewhere else? There's certainly no Japanese in my family. Where did it come from?
Yeah.
I saw a past life of myself as a man in France in the 1700s. I'm not going to say Marie Antoinette, but he had uh, uh, pantaloon-looking pants on light blue, and a shoe
Mm-hmm.
that had a pointy top to it. I have no
Yeah.
association with France at all. None. After seeing that man, I saw where he lived, and all of a sudden I found myself buying French furniture. I have French furniture. Look behind me, French, or the
Yeah.
minute wherever this is. I have no association, but when you have a very strong one like you, Baker Party, you had to be there. And maybe unfinished business, maybe family members around you were there, or you need to go to their party, wherever it was, that you think I can kind of close the door to it. Why is that bleeding through? I'd like to know. You have to figure that out. Cheryl, I believe that. I have two distinct past life recalls of middle ages. Yeah, yeah, I think you did too. Not really happy one. The second one distresses me for some reason. Oh, the second one in your mind. Sorry, don't mean to step in, but and it was distressful, possibly a man. Um, so why is that brought into this? And are you being haunted by that? Oh, that's a good question. Nancy, do you see spirits in black and white? No, I see them in color. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Black and white. I guess the spirits that uh, are stuck, like ghost, they sometimes show me in gray to dark gray. Okay. If they're not going to show me the body, I see them different shades of tone of dark. Um, Cheryl has yes, bad ending. Sorry, I didn't mean to step into you, Cheryl. That confirms, help you confirm that. You might want to have a past life regression just to get there so you close the door. Go through the death without pain and suffering and say, this life is done. I don't need to know anymore. Just acknowledging that you were there is pretty good. Dolly, well, then I was shot in the butt. Whoa. I'd like to have Dolly tell me more about that. Laura says, I have relived my death twice in repeated dreams over and over. Once in Germany, World War One, and the Titanic. Oh, how interesting. As soon as I faced a Titanic exhibit and navigated to a picture of a teenage girl, the war one, the war one, I was a little girl. This is the second one. I was a little
World
girl.
War
I
One.
went,
Yeah.
yeah, I went to a war one exhibit and the dream stopped. Oh, see, perfect. Perfect. Dolly says she has a birthmark. Yes, yes, I do believe in that. I've given lectures. It was in the Theater of the Round, Sacramento, California, Madison Avenue, and the freeway. Anybody there? Of course, I always tell the details so someone can call me. And I spoke to the audience about past life wounds and woundology of how they ended their life, and the people were confirming their this present life health issues by the way I described their death. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that ding is. Is that your phone, or is this telling me there's another?
No,
Anyway,
it's
that's
ignore it,
okay.
please.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
my son developed a big pigmentation on his chest when he was 12. It just showed up. It didn't have anything before, but it was like massive, it looks almost like an old burn thing. And then I went
mm,
to someone and they told me that he had died as a fighter pilot in the Korean War. He was Korean,
wow,
and he died of his burns when he crashed.
why not?
But yeah,
Yeah.
but
Does that give
that
him closure?
we
Does that,
talked about it, and yeah, but it didn't show up until he was 12. And it was almost overnight. It just boom, it was there. He's
I would
very
go to a
psychic.
place of, I would say at that age, something reminded him of the past
Mm,
life.
yeah.
Because once we have a memory that surfaces, everybody, when I saw
Well,
the man in France, I bought
one of our
furniture.
neighbors one of our neighbors had their apartment catch on fire at that in that time frame.
That's a
So
reminder, and that's why he got
yeah,
the rash. Almost feels like
yeah,
a strawberry rash, and that's
yeah,
a kind
and
of
it's just pigmentation, and it's
right,
still
strawberry
there.
rash, and
Yeah,
that he probably needs to let that go. I don't know how to tell you that. Um, grieve that past life, but he's got a chance at a second one, type of thing.
yeah,
Um, but I want to go on to. We got 20 minutes. I want at least 15 minutes on a second cemetery because this one's kind of curious. A couple things there in Rockland, near Sierra College Boulevard. Um, there's Sierra College is there too. On the other side of the freeway is the town of Rockland. Rockland's a tiny little cute town, and they put a new crossroads in the center of town where they put the roundabout. It's all brick, very cute. And so I'm not sure if she's in charge, so I'll just say her first name is Kathy. Might be 15, 20 years ago that she invited me to do a couple tours at the small Rockland Cemetery. And it was not real big. I don't know where everybody else was buried, but this lady was very lovely. And I did ask her because when I did the John Betancourt tours in old Sacramento Cemetery, he was good enough to do the research so it could validate what I was picking up because I want to know why I'm not getting it right, if I'm interpreting it wrong. And so I told Kathy, I said, "Oh, I'd love to do it. But do me a favor. I don't know who we're going to talk to there or what's going to happen. If you have some historians, I would love to know. Have them there. I don't need to know who they are. Just let me know that there's someone that can validate some of the things I'm saying because that's important to me also. It's important to the family that they get validation and I'm not making it up because you could hear me talk about someone else's family and they're there to get information, but how would they believe me that I'm not making up? I need someone to validate. Um, Laura says, I drowned in the Titanic dream. I've always been scared of deep water. In this life, I've had two near drownings. I was 3 and found unconscious in the pool. I think that's when I developed abilities. Oh, I died at 6. And I'm sure that was after my dead dad came to visit us. So I sometimes wonder, because I can do many things, that I was already gifted when he came to visit me as a dead person, that it didn't kick in. I really believe that near death has a lot to do with what I call the catalyst.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought up, Kathy, you see this? Give me a buzz, dear. I'm in the Orville area. Maybe we could do another one because it's local enough. And she was a lovely little lady. Um, so we get to the cemetery and it's not like really big. And I look around and go, oh, kind of comfortable. I mean, for a cemetery, it's not 10,000 burials like at Sacramento. And this place had a couple main roads. And I was walking, I was very pulled to my left. And I think sometimes the spirit people there, are they in from them the life and they're stuck? Not this person. Was curious because I had the sense that he was a spirit person that created an opportunity for Kathy to think to invite me for his family. And I do believe that spirit people have a lot to do with people touching base with me because I'm a medium.
Mm.
I have a lot of
Yeah.
family. Just 2 days ago, I had a lady call and 3 family members. She had some health issues. She needed validation from her family that she had people over there being her guides. And so with this, the man that came to me, stepped into me. And he was not a ghost as much as he wanted his story told because everybody thought he killed himself and he did not. So we walked close. I walked close to the cemetery stone and I looked and all I was able to get out was the first name. I don't particularly care for transfiguration where someone steps into you,
Mm-hmm.
step-ins, whatever you want to call it. And what I had heard was the family said he killed himself and he shouted out, I didn't kill myself. It was raining. I slid into the wall. No one believed me. Guess what happened? Family members went home and they went to the weather. I don't know if they didn't find his body right away or whatever. It was in June. The day in June that he got killed, it rained. And so what
Mm.
that did for the family was validate that he didn't kill himself. It was an accident. And it
That's
was
good.
proven that it had been raining. So sometimes when you go to the cemetery, be open to the idea that the spirit person may show up. And if they take over or give you strong impressions, you have to say what you're getting. And sometimes that's very distressful. The mother, I
Mm.
suspect, was the mother because the man didn't feel like her age. She was absolutely overwhelmed. And Kathy did call me back and told me everything. And I wanted you to realize that if they have to step into you to get the message, I see no problem with that. I normally do not like that. Now, if it's a child or a young adult, but if it's someone who's very senior and they want to step into, make sure you're very clear. Because I had that happen in a group, and I says, no, 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 no. Because if they step in, can they control you, keep you? Oh, a younger person, I'm going to live all over again. I don't approve of that.
Mm.
Laura says, wow, I bet he felt validated enough he could cross. Absolutely. He might have crossed, but it came back because of the anguish of the family. A spirit
Mm.
person versus a ghoster, ghoster is that new word? Spirit person could cross over, and when he came back, he realized they felt like he had killed himself. I kind of wonder how hard it was for him to manipulate. Can you imagine trying to? get the family together to work together to figure out how to put someone like me there. I
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't know how that happens unless I was always going to be a tour guide, and Kathy was always going to call me. And what he
Yeah.
did was he got his family, his mother, to go to that tour so that
Yeah.
he could make himself known. Hi there, Johnny. I can't see very good. Joni. Nice. I'm not going to
Johnny,
say last. Yeah, Johnny.
is it?
Hi.
Yeah.
I couldn't see if it was an I or L, and I apologize.
It's an
It's
I.
amazing I can see it as clear as I can. Huh?
I had one person that was very upset when she realized that her person that passed over was actually off having fun and not hanging around them feeling sad like she was. She was very angry about that.
I've already told my kids I'm going to go to Japan when I pass over. And I
Mm,
says, I may not hang around very long. I'm going to go do some traveling, and I
mm-hmm.
really want to see other
Yeah.
places. So I have clients all around the world, and I do like talking. I
Mm-hmm.
have Italy a lot. There's a gal in Malta, and I've talked to her a few times. And the reason I bring up Malta is I thought I'm not very tactful sometimes. I says, "How's the internet there?" Of course, I would think that. And it's a civilized country, right? But it's in the Mediterranean. So you wonder how good anyway. The thing is that I can talk to somebody in Italy, and that's a couple I've talked to for a very long time. And soon as I hear the voice click, I'm there. So spirit people tell me they think of what they would like to do, and they're instantaneously there.
Yes.
So, was it
Yes.
you or someone else talked about the fifth dimension? How do we float? And I says, I don't know what dimension they're talking about, but I can get somewhere really quick,
Yeah.
especially
With
the Italy
thought. Yeah.
with
You think
thought.
that you're there. Yeah.
You think you're there. And so the Italy couple in Italy, they have three girls that live in the United States, all West Coast, Atlantic, Georgia, and Texas, if I'm right. And so I don't know about Georgia. I can't remember Texas and um, California for sure. So they'll ask about a girl, and I'm instantly there. And
Mm,
then I get the information, bring it back to me, and tell it to them in seconds. So that tells me that we're floating in a lot of multiple dimensions that we
yeah.
are. It's going to be really hard because every day I'm talking to somebody outside of my house, long distance, short distance, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm.
I go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I already know Scott's planning trips.
Who are you talking about?
I'm
Who's that?
talking about. I'm talking about Ron.
Oh, Ron.
Yeah. He's already scouting out places to take me when I get over there.
So that is the excuse me. This is like I have to say this. One of the benefits of being a spirit person, everybody, is step out of this hunk hunk of meat jacket, this thing that burdens us down, and we don't have the enlightenment of seeing all the colors as near death people say. But we get to travel, and I just got through telling you my interest in Japan. Why is that?
Hmm.
So go back in time, travel the world,
Yeah.
cosmos. If I
Yeah.
want to be by the time I pass away, the colony on Mars might have been started. I want to go there. I want to see what it's like. I want to go across the cosmos somewhere else, see other life
Hmm.
forms. You can do it in a heartbeat. Who
Yeah.
knows they're not here? I have a woman that I work with, and there's a lot going on in our lives, so we can't collaborate as much. Um, she and I have done 33 or 34 spirit possessions. These are ghosts that found someone to hang on to, right?
Yeah.
Kind of creepy. And so one of the ladies she talked to me about, put my mind to that client, and I almost threw the phone across the room. She had an alien attached to her back. And the only thing I can speak to, it looked like a starfish, but it wasn't. It was really big with the tentacles coming around and hugging her on the shoulders and going to her chest. I almost threw up. It was like, oh my gosh, is that what that alien looks like? What are the other ones going to look like? Oh, well, that sparked my interest. So I would like to go other planets just to
Mm.
see what's out there. And as a spirit
Well,
person, you had that choice.
yeah.
I just
There's a
start
lot out
thinking
there.
about that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Fun.
Here, okay, most spirits I talk to in private homes that are lingering have some unfinished business. It's almost I love this. It's counseling time for the spirit. Absolutely. Been
Mhm.
there. I've done that. In dreams, I've also astral traveled to another people's homes. I struggled with a man, all kinds of adventures. Ooh, don't write that. I've struggled with a man. Um, this is woman's. No, I shouldn't say it like that. Um, I've asked. So if it's a spirit, you counsel them because they are very attached to the earth peoples. They've crossed over, but they can't get away from it, which is silly because the other side can be very beautiful and pursue all kinds of stuff. In the movie Lovely Bones, one of the things I loved about it is the unfortunate murder girls. Their heaven was extraordinarily beautiful. I can't imagine why
Mhm.
you'd come back to Earth unless you have unfinished business.
Yeah.
Um, all right, I'm not going to repeat that, young lady. I, you know, oh, I love this. I love it. Thank you, sweetie. You got me a good chuckle. I love it. The other one, and I'm trying to make this an hour because I get warmed up at an hour. The other one I want to talk to can be difficult for some people, and that's a child that's in a cemetery. It's very
Mhm.
easy for children and adults to lose track of time, and and parents will go to the cemetery if it's a child young enough. They may be in a semi ghost. I'm not sure they passed over because if they passed over, family would have taken them. So it could be the parents that are keeping the child there
Mhm.
at the cemetery. So I have a hard time counseling grieving parents for that reason. I say to them, as when I talk about those who are grieving the death of someone who's been body damaged, if you have a body damage relative that's died or a lover or something, create the day before the death. Make them beautiful again. In the story of a child, when you go to the grave, don't think of them laying there and you want to embrace them because that child will feel that and stay there. They're not in
Mhm.
harm. They lose track of time. They're just waiting. And so waiting to them means second to second, not days that takes you to go back. If it's a young child, sometimes the mom will go more often. That's very touchy, very, very hard. So if you kids out there are doing readings, put that in consideration. If someone comes to you and says, "My child died, I'm grieving all the time," kind of very carefully ask them their pattern. When do you go? What do you do? When you go to the cemetery again, envision that child as whole and beautiful before the sickness or before the accident. Let that child feel that you see them as beautiful and plain, and that you invite the child to go home with you versus sit on the cemetery stone, and then let them have part of your life and let them wake up so they don't have to be there. Invite family members to come in and take the child away because it's not like they grieve, but you may never get over grieving. So your life will be shortened. It's very, very hard to deal with that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, I don't even know what to say. That is really, I just, every time I look at Laura's comment about the man, I go, oh,
I have a question for you.
yeah,
And in
I
I
agree.
think it's the city of Cloverdale. There's some woman there years ago. I don't know if she's still doing it, but she always found unclaimed children that had died that didn't have a burial, and she buried them in the local cemetery there. What was her
She,
compulsion on doing that?
she would find
If
unburied.
Yeah, she had it arranged with a couple of hospitals that if they had an infant, regardless of the age, but an infant in particular, pass away and the parents didn't want to do anything with the baby, she arranged and she buried it
Then that was what
in.
her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and she did that for years and years.
So that was why she chose his body. Then that was her path to give a place for these children to be honored. Um, I can appreciate the parents if it's a fetus. A lot of times the hospitals will incinerate what's left over if there's body
Yeah,
parts that can be used. And I
yeah.
I can't quite, that's like I'm a mom, grandmother, great grandmother now, and it's hard for me to think that way. But I think that she was an angel in disguise, perhaps. And I do, in 32 years, three, one in
Mm.
Placerville, and a mother and daughter. Rancho Cordova. All three of them had never been born before.
Mm.
And I gave them what I picked up, and they went, "Oh, you're right, all right." And I says, "You've never been here before, honey," especially the mother. And when I talked to the mother, the daughter said, "Ah," and the mother says, "Yeah, her too." And
Yeah.
Fran and Marge,
Mm.
it's been a long time since the mom has passed. I don't know about Marge, but the lady in Plaza was a nurse person. And when I went to
Um.
her, go
Mm.
ahead.
No, I was just.
So this friend of yours might have been an angel disguise,
Yeah, she wasn't a friend. It's just
the
somebody
person,
that I
because
had
that was her
read about.
purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might have been her purpose because sometimes you wonder who we are that spend our life giving. 32 years I've been doing this, and the passion I have and the dedication and my faith. Don't cross me on my faith. It's like unbelievable. Oh, you got to
Yeah.
because I'm
She's.
no, I love it. You kidding? I should wake mine up and hold him up. He's huge like yours. In some ways, those of us that are unquestionable with the power of who we are, what we do. At my age, I should be retired and I can't give it up. I
Yeah.
can't. And of course, I've been threatened. Give it up, I'm going to beat you. It's like, but I am writing books, everybody, and I will do these with Sue for as long as time will permit us, of course, with
Mm.
Shar of California Haunts Radio and other things that are coming up. I'll make sure. Oh, I should mention this. Thank you, everybody, for bringing this. I don't know how many are still in there. Um, Shar gave me an idea. Look at the cat in the background. I love
Yeah.
that. I love
Yeah.
it. She jumped up on the chair or something. I'm going to
Yeah.
start reading old books, and just happen to be I'm reading now, which you would like. And this is a 1927 book, and it's called The Mystic Art of Breathing. Another one, Through the Gateway of Death. And these are 50 to 100-year-old books. Um, from This is testimony of one who has passed from
Mm.
death to light. And look at these old books. These come from my grandmother. She was a minister of New Thought. She was a spiritualist first, and then
Mm.
it became not as popular. So when New Thought was created, I have 50 books that are as old as this and more, and
Wow.
they're very and it's not like they're so old, but they're the ones that generate the rest of us to think this way.
Yeah.
And the writing is amazing, and the references to how to do this, and um, I just have too much to talk about. Susie Smith, look her up. She gave me permission to read her books. So I
Mm.
think I have six or seven of her books. She wrote 29, and she's the one that started the research for, I forgot what it's called, proving life. The cat's on your head. I love this.
She's eating my hair.
I know it. Anyway, Susie Smith of Tucson, Arizona. The Her godson is Professor Gary Swartz, the one who double blind tested me. If anybody knows, that's crazy, right? And so uh, he was her godson. So I she wrote 29 books, and she's the one that started the movement of talk too fast because I want to say a lot. Psycho, psychic abilities, but survival after death. And she
Mm.
started in the 50s or 60s. So this is a really old movement.
Yeah.
Um, Dolly, thank you. Sweet dreams. Where are you? I wonder. Sandra, hi, Nance. I met you at Chavez. Oh, in Washington many years ago. I love that family. And the daughter does call me, and the mother calls me too. Not often, but very nice to meet you. Sandra, go to my website, nancymatz.com, for a reading. Very nice to meet you. I shouldn't have said that last name out loud. Um, Very nice. I love meeting people like this. It's fun. After 32 years, people were still showing up. Okay, hon. Okay, went a little more than an hour, everybody, but we did good. We covered a lot of information, and I try to keep it, you know, if you want us to go longer, let us know. But
Yeah.
she and I agreed an hour after that, we start petering out.
Well, it's not that so much as it's hard to load it on, to drop it
Right.
onto YouTube. It takes
It,
forever to
it
download.
does.
Mhm.
Um, Laura
Hi,
says, I'm an
Laura.
empath healer, medium, and just retired from healthcare after 47 years. Nurse of ICU and help patients die comfortably. Oh, I love you for that. But I knew if someone was about to, oh, she knew. Doctors called me a walking crystal ball. I guess they figured me out. One of the pastors who worked there would ask me to go place hands on patients. I think I love you, Laura. Yes, I did healing. The Spiritualist Church taught people how to do that. And I can step in people. It's kind of creepy, some things I've done over the years, but you can't
Yeah,
imagine if you do this almost every day for 32 years, you better get some talent, right? And
yeah,
for you too. All right, Cheryl, nice topic. Brilliant topics
yeah.
covered. I try to make it interesting. I
Thanks,
hope
Jerry.
everybody enjoyed this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
Oh,
Jerry.
thank you very much, Cheryl. All right. All right, girlfriend. Had fun tonight. Nice seeing you.
Yeah.
I,
Then I go
yeah.
deal with my cat. She
No,
wants her
I love
dinner.
it. That's spontaneous, and mine's sound asleep over here. Now, when I've done those
You,
shows, and
yeah,
usually he's up
usually,
in my lap.
usually mine is. Yeah, mine usually crawls on my lap and just sleeps, but she's been trying to get my attention. So I'll have to open a can
I
and
want
feed
some more
her.
water or food, huh?
She
All
wants
right,
food.
everybody. It's been lovely. 2 weeks, then we'll
Yes.
talk again. All right.
Thank you.
If you have a
Night.
topic you want me to talk about, reincarnation is always a favorite for mine. But there's a lot of topics. Send me a note, Nancy at nancymatz.com. All right, everybody. Good night.
Night.